Welcome to the Read Your Keys podcast. I'm your host, Joe Lopez. If you're enjoying the content, please like, smash, and squish those subscribe buttons on iTunes, Spotify, and YouTube. Today, my guest is a former Division I football player, now assisting people to lose fat and gain muscle. He enjoys picking up heavy objects and putting them down. Again, Zack Strength. You can find him on Twitter at Zack Strength, on his website, ZackStrength.com. Zach, welcome to the show, brother.
Thanks, Joel. It's an honor to be on here finally.
Yeah, I been following you for a while. Were you a non before, like a statue, and then changed your profile? Is that how you
Yeah,
started?
so like back in October, like 2020, I just made some random account where I was posting like pictures of steak and like some lifting videos where I'd blur out my face. And then I even like deactivated my Twitter for a month, and then I came back and actually put a real picture,
Uh huh.
and yeah, kind of just grew from there.
Yeah, because I thought I remember following you as a statue for some reason. I was like, this guy's fun, or there's something about you. It's just like, oh, he's fun, and I think you might have alluded to like the football stuff, and so like I'm kind of like all over that. Like that's just kind of like my like ears perk up when people start talking about football. It's like, oh, like what are we talking about? Like, so you might have mentioned something like that. I was like, oh, okay, this guy kind of brings a different perspective on the fitness aspect of things.
Oh yeah, you're 100% correct. I had made a mention of football, and someone had reached out to me, and they're like, "Dude, you played football. Like, I really want to know where at. I hope someday you like, uncover who you are." And I was just like, why do I have this goofy statue picture? Like, I
Uh-huh.
guess I was a little like nervous to go and like, post stuff online, videos of me lifting, a little self-conscious, and I thought like, why should I be? So
Hmm.
I changed that like I don't know 2 3 months in. So that was just a really short period of time where I actually was kind of anonymous there.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because I think there is, hey, you want to be keep your private stuff private, and um like I'm actually really introverted, so I don't really like to share. So it's been like a challenge for me to kind of share some things. But it's like, well, if it's helping somebody, like, okay, might as well. But I do get that, like, hey, you don't want to put everything out there.
Yeah, exactly. And like I at one point I figured I have nothing to hide. I'm not out here saying anything like outrageous or that'll get me in trouble. Like I keep it PG. This is food and lifting stuff, and like if I want to make some real solid connections here, I know some people are great at doing it anonymous, but I think it really helps people trust
Mm-hmm.
me, and personally helps me connect with others. So that's why I'm like, I'm gonna move away from this. Like, this isn't my style. It works for other people, but like it just felt like kind of forced, and that's when I was like, all right, let's reveal the face here, and
Mm-hmm.
have a little more transparency.
All right, I got I got to lay this out here. I'm from LA. I'm a big time UCLA football fan. All right. There's two UCLA or USC football players that get the okay in my book now. Troy Polamalu and you.
Awesome. I love it. I feel honored to be included there. Maybe it's we each have long hair. I don't know, dude, but yeah, that's good to hear that at least two on your book.
Yeah, yeah. So let's talk about that. So I listened to your episode on Ty Romper's podcast, and so you talked about like your high school career. So I thought it was like super interesting. So you started off like quarterback, tight end in high school, or was that like did you start like in your Pop Warner days
So
down?
in my Pop Warner days, I only played beginning in eighth grade, and back then I
Were
was
you too
actually
big? Is that why they had a weight limit?
um that was part of it. Plus, also, my parents didn't want me playing till I was a little bit more physically developed, and
Mm-hmm.
to be honest, I think that was the right decision.
Huh.
I mean, I have a son, and my preference is if he wants to play football, I'd like him to start in ninth grade, no earlier, at least for now. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Pop Warner. Of course, I wanted to be a quarterback like everybody else, but like they don't really throw in Pop Warner, and it's
No.
always the fast kid at quarterback,
Mm-hmm.
and I wasn't very fast, and so being bigger, almost being too heavy to play, they just naturally threw me on the D line, and I loved it there. I mean, it was a lot of fun. I got to hit
Mm-hmm.
people. I'll admit it's fun getting hit around a little bit
Mm-hmm.
too. A little adrenaline rush. I just love the game of football. Like I'd be willing to play any position out there. And then yeah, in high school, I wanted to be a quarterback. Like I said, just like everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I played quarterback and a variety of positions, like many individuals. I punted at one point.
That's funny, big ass
A
Zach out there punting.
little bit of linebacker. They threw me at
Uh-huh.
safety, which I don't know why anyone would put somebody tall, lanky, and not that fast at safety, but it was
Yeah.
fun. Both sides of the ball. But yeah, not to speak to that too much. Basically, in college, why I played D line was I wasn't the heaviest recruited of players,
Mm-hmm.
and just looking at things analytically, I was like, all right, I'm 6'5". I got a nice frame. My body type probably aligns to defensive line.
Mm-hmm.
They have the easiest playbook of all the positions.
Mm-hmm.
Even just looking at the scout team, there's just like arrows on where D line is
Mm-hmm.
supposed to go.
Yeah.
You usually have four of them on the field at a time. There's a rotation in addition to the four starters,
Mm-hmm.
and unfortunately, there's a lot of injuries in the trenches. So like,
Mm-hmm.
there's just going to be a lot of opportunity for me to play defensive line if I can just get as big and strong as possible. So that's when I decided, hey, I want to play defensive line. Maybe a less attractive position, but just really get on the field because of my love of the game of football. And then additionally, my dad's friend had played in the NFL as a long snapper, so I had him teach me how to snap.
Mm-hmm.
That way, I could get myself on the travel squad my very first year, and be on the coach's radar, make the rotation, and the plan worked to perfection.
Oh, so you did. I didn't know you were long snapping too.
I never snapped in a game. We just needed a
But you had that
backup
skill set
snapper.
though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like that just gave me some extra value there. Incentivizing the coaches to have me travel. As a first year player, when usually new guys are staying at home.
Well, and the thing you came out as a walk on, right? So you have to make yourself valuable. So that makes a big difference to be able to do that. And people laugh. Like I remember when it became more specialized as the more I played. But like I remember a guy that's all he did was like long snapping. We're like long snapping, but it's like that kid ended up getting a scholarship.
Oh yeah, it's a great thing. I mean, and nowadays there's so many protections around the long snapping
Yep.
position that if you can just learn to throw the ball between your legs, get decent grades, you're gonna have scholarship offers
Yeah.
all over. And I mean, like, you look at a guy like David Binns, who played I think like 15 years primarily for the Chargers. So all he was doing was snapping. At one point, he's dating Pamela Anderson, what well-known famous person, like,
Yeah.
people talking like, who's this guy? Like, what's he doing? He just snaps, and like, it's a cool position. The guy was, getting paid seven
Yeah.
figures to throw a ball between his legs and was
That's
making
funny though. It's
headlines.
like,
Like, it
who are you
was super
dating?
cool.
Oh, I'm dating an NFL player. It's like, what's he do? Quarterback, linebacker, long snapper.
What's that?
Yeah, yeah. That what's it's really cool though because looking at your size, it's like, oh, you could have played tight end probably, but it's like, okay, you know, they're going 3 and 4 wide receivers more often now. You get one tight end. Maybe they'll have a package where there's two, and then maybe goal line there's three tight ends. But for the most
Yeah.
part, you're not rotating that many tight ends. Whereas on the D line, yeah, they're going through a few. So were you going through all four spots, or were you more interior or on the edges?
So yeah, I went through all four spots there, and like interesting. You bring up tight end too for guys my size, because yeah, if you can't play quarterback, guys like me, they want to be a tight end.
Mm-hmm.
Make catches. We're not the fastest, get the attention, and like they had put me at tight end at first because
Mm-hmm.
of some injuries, and every
Mm-hmm.
day I'd see Coach O and tell him, hey, I'm ready to come to D line and play for you.
Mm-hmm.
And so they moved me over to D line, but yeah, they had me playing all positions on the line as a walk on, to just fill in as needed.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I started playing more on the interior as a defensive tackle, I just really enjoyed it. I thought it was a lot of fun. Got to put my
Mm-hmm.
strength to use, and it was a grind but enjoyable. And so I just
Did
started.
they put you more on the inside, the one technique, which is like center guard, or did they put you outside shade of the guard on the traditional three technique?
So I did both. I'd say
Uh-huh.
more so at three technique.
Okay.
I know to finish up my career, junior year, I played mostly in the inside at one tech, and then
Mm-hmm.
senior year doing three tech on the outside, which I think I was better suited for.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I loved them both, and after trying it out for a little, I just started gorging myself and lifting harder, trying to get as big as possible, because I know you got to be bigger when you're in interior.
Did they for walk-ons there? Did you have access to the training table also, or did you have to go and foot that on your own?
So, if you wanted to be on training table as a walk-on, you'd have to pay for it, and then there's certain like exceptions, like days like where you got to go in like a scholarship athlete as well.
Mm-hmm.
But when you were, traveling, they were feeding you super well,
Mm-hmm.
and you had access to training table. So as playing on travel squad and being part of the rotation, I got the benefit of the scholarship players for the most part,
Mm-hmm.
and so I
Yeah.
was eating a ton. I
Yeah, I
remember like
bet.
my coach is looking at me like, Zach, leave some food for the rest of us, so.
Which is saying a lot because you, you got those big old linemen. You know, even the D line guys, like football players, just have big appetites, right? Because they're just burning a ton of calories. So for them to be like, "Yo, Zach, slow down," like, dude, you must have been putting in some work.
Yeah, I've always had like a big appetite. So like, even guys like bigger than me, like I don't know, I think maybe I've been, just blessed with a great metabolism, or maybe I'm just super active, or both. I was,
Uh huh.
eating more than some of these 320-pound plus guys in a
Mm-hmm.
single setting there. Um, yeah,
Do
I
you think a part
was
of it just
enjoying.
because you knew that it's like, hey, I have to find the edge somewhere. At USC, you're getting top caliber guys,
Mhm.
and just guys. As an athlete, when you get to that level, you can just see like this dude just has it. They don't have to do all the things that you have to do, so you have to find an edge. So did you find it in nutrition that was like, hey, this is how I can find my place, or have be able to just compete with these guys?
Yeah, so every day was an uphill battle fighting against the top talent in the country, and so I realized I had to take every little step in order to get on the field and beat some guys out. And so I realized, nutrition, lifting, and just putting in the work. So not only would I be as strong as possible, as big as possible, but to have my efforts noticed. So like in addition to reading up, researching on food and lifting to get as big and strong as possible. I remember we had actually just played UCLA, and it was the last game of the season because we were sanctioned. And
Mm-hmm.
before we broke as a team to leave the stadium, the strength coach said, off season starts at 6 a.m. on Monday.
Mm-hmm.
So at 5:45 a.m., I was outside the weight room that Monday, and the coaches show up and they look, and I'm the only guy there, and they're like, "Oh, whoa,
Mm-hmm.
didn't expect you to be here so early." And I'm like, "Coach, I'm a walk on. I got
Yeah.
an uphill battle. If I want to play, I got to do everything I need to do." So
Right.
yeah, I was just putting in the effort as much as possible.
How much did you learn? I mean, the strength and conditioning coaches. I mean, they're paid. They say that the strength and conditioning coach after the head coach is the most important hire for a football coach. So being able to be around those guys, you had to absorb just like so much information and just value from them.
Oh yeah, the amount of knowledge from the strength coaches that I got to train with was invaluable. I learned so much, and I use that information to this day, and you know, follow them on social media and message them from time to time about things and see what they're doing. But yeah, I was so incredibly blessed to be able to train with them, to learn from them, to have them teach me. And in addition to strength and conditioning coaches, we had hired a nutritionist who I got to work
Mm-hmm.
with and learn from. So yeah, it was great to be in that type of environment where I was well taken care of and just had the ability to learn so much that served me beyond my football career.
Mm-hmm. Let me ask. I think I like joking and stuff like that. The football locker room to me is like one of the funniest places
Oh
like
yeah.
on the planet. There had to be like A+ level trash talk going on in your guys' locker room, especially because if I'm hearing you right, I think you guys probably beat up on UCLA during those years. I'm pretty sure there were some pretty funny things being said.
There was a lot of trash talk.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, it was all in good fun for the most
Mm-hmm.
part. You dish it, you take it in.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of things inappropriate for
Mm-hmm.
out of the locker room, but
Right.
yeah, man, it was a great time. I mean, that camaraderie, that brotherhood,
Mm-hmm.
the things you can actually get away with saying to somebody you're actually like close with, of course, is
Mm-hmm.
different than just maybe a regular or buddy or
Right.
someone that doesn't have that
Yeah.
same just bond with you of going out to beat another team on a quest to win a national championship or whatever. It's a crazy environment.
Yeah. Because I'm pretty sure those workouts were pretty intense, right? So it's like, hey, you just did this crazy workout here with me. So when we get into the locker room and I have something to say to you, you're gonna listen because you did the same thing that I just did. Like and we're trying to do this and we're do the same thing. There's really something special about that, even though it's like in the grand scheme of things, like hey, it's just a game, but it bonds you together.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, like, and what was really cool too about that brotherhood is like, they're guys I was playing with, where they're above me on the depth chart, below me on the depth chart. We're all helping each other out.
Mm-hmm.
May the best men win. Um, I remember with some of the starters asking them their technique, and they were willing to stay after practice or meet up with me, whatever, lift with me extra, show me some things here, work on technique there. So it's really cool to all be fighting towards a common goal and seeing just everybody, want to help each other out and win together.
I've kind of noticed this thing about. I think it applies to football for sure. I was never in a basketball locker room. I wrestled. I wasn't very good, but I noticed this about a football locker room. There's three currencies in the football locker room. Can you ball? Do you work hard? And are you funny? Those are like the three. Like if you have one of those three, like maybe not at USC at that level, but like for most locker rooms, like you have one of those three. It's like we can rock with you, right? Because like the guy that balls, like hey, everybody knows he balls, so he's cool. You might not be a baller, but if you work your ass off, okay, respect. And if you're funny, but you're kind of like lazy and you really can't ball, but it's like but he's like comic relief. He's fun to have around. So those are the three things. And if you have all three of them, then like you're the man in
Oh,
the
you're
locker room,
you're
right?
you're golden.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's I haven't heard someone put it that way, but yeah, dude, that's 100% spot on. I like that. So I'll probably reference that
Yeah.
in conversations with other people moving forward.
Because you think about it though, right? It's like football. If you can ball, you don't have to like the guy, But it's like, hey, dude can ball. He's better than me. Okay. Uh, if someone works hard, it's like, all right, like you give respect because like, hey man, the dude is doing the best that he can with what he has. So the guys that have talent and work hard, it's just like, oh man, they're special. I was talking to Stephon Grant about that. Just like, hey, somebody who has talent and works with it, it's like, man, they're a dream to be around.
Oh yeah, I mean, it takes no talent to hustle, but you see it every single year at these big schools. You have these guys with a ton of talent, and
Mm-hmm.
they don't put in the work that they should, and they can get by to a certain point. But then those guys that come in, those five-star recruits that just have that work ethic, they're unstoppable. Eventually, they're gonna write their own checks. High in demand. It's a real cool thing to see someone who has the right attitude, plus the God-given ability to just play the game.
So the big news coming out is that UCLA and USC are going to be going into the Big Ten. What was your initial thoughts, if you thought about it,
Yeah.
like oh wow, this is crazy.
So my initial thoughts were, I do like tradition, and it's sad to
Mm-hmm.
see them leave the Pac-12 and all the great memories and things that have happened. But at the same time, the college football landscape is changing fast.
Mm-hmm.
There's some desire for some changes from some of the players. I think there's a lot of desire of change from the fans, and ultimately, I think the move is a positive thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think some realignment into some bigger conferences will make a more clear playoff path,
Mm-hmm.
and I think USC going to the Big Ten will really be great for competition across the college football landscape. So like it's odd seeing them going to be in the Big Ten,
Mm-hmm.
but ultimately, I think with them and UCLA moving there, it's gonna be good for the game. So time will tell. But yeah, I'm excited to have a more heated rivalry with
Yeah.
Ohio State and Michigan, and now
Mm-hmm.
living on the East Coast, USC is gonna have to play Rutgers, so
That's
that's
true.
that's not that far of a drive from New York City. So for selfish reasons, I'm going to benefit there. So yeah, I think overall it's a net positive.
Yeah, I think so. I think so too. I'm a college football traditionalist, but I see what's happening, and it's just like they were saying that like SC and UCLA were getting like 20 million per year for being part of the conference, and they're talking about in the Big Ten getting 100 million. So it's just like, hey, there's just a huge difference between what the Pac-10 12 was and what the SEC and the Big Ten are getting. It's just like, hey, if we want to compete with recruiting, with facilities, all the stuff that's going on, it's the move. But as a football fan, to think of like USC playing Michigan, UCLA playing Ohio State, going to Iowa, like that sounds awesome as a football fan, because like those are the games that out of conference you would hope for, you know, once every couple of years to be able to play a big game like that. Like, dang, going to Penn State for a whiteout, like that sounds amazing. Like I would always want to, like I see a whiteout and be like, dang, that would be so awesome. And now to have a chance to be a part of something like that, I think is a big. I don't know if for college football, but for me as a UCLA USC fan, yeah, that sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think what we're going to see now is a lot more like blue chip versus blue chip games.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah, like I said, it'll be great for competition for the landscape, and I think seeing something like that will really incentivize other schools and conferences to really step their game up, so everybody can compete as hard as possible. So yeah, I mean time will tell, but yeah, I'm excited for the schedules that are going to come out once the moves officially made in 2024.
Yeah, it's year two away, but it's still like it's exciting. So like I don't want to discount what they're doing this season with these players. But man, like that's like wow, that sounds like a lot of fun. You've traveled.
Yeah.
Do you think that's going to be a hard deal for players? To go from LA all the way to New York, all the way out there, or is it just like, hey, once you're traveling, you're traveling, you have your schedules. They kind of build it around school, so you can, so it's not that big a deal.
I mean, I think traveling can affect people and teams up to a certain point, but I think sometimes it gets overplayed in the media.
Mm-hmm.
For example, like I remember traveling out to Notre Dame, and a little bit different of an atmosphere out there.
Mm-hmm.
But being in the stadium, the crowd noise, even though it was against us, and they actually, it was found out, were like playing speakers illegally loud on our sideline. It ended up just getting us like more amped up to play. We
Mm-hmm.
won, and it was we're things just fired us up, and the travel didn't really seem to have an effect on us. I think when it comes to traveling, the biggest thing that really affects people is playing in different altitudes, where the air
Mm-hmm.
might be a little bit different. So if you're
Mm-hmm.
going out to Colorado,
Colorado,
or
yeah.
maybe you're going up to like to Oregon, I think the atmosphere is a little different there. But yeah, I remember one of the coaches talking about some game. I forget what teams, but like they had like an East Coast or a Midwest team travel to the West Coast for like a night game, and the school thought like, oh yeah, the kids will be more tired and thrown off. And it's like, yeah, these are 18 to 22-year-old kids. Like, you think because it's 10 p.m. their time and 7 p.m. West Coast time, they're gonna be tired? Like, nah, that's when these kids are like up and ready to
Going out to
go and
party,
do
yeah.
stuff. So like, I don't think a lot of the travel really wears people down as much as it's talked about. I mean, maybe if you're
Mm-hmm.
going from like New Jersey to Hawaii or something, but
Mm-hmm.
even then, when you play Hawaii, like my very first game was against Hawaii, you go a day early and you leave a day late. So I
Mm-hmm.
really don't think that the travel is going to be that big of a deal.
I had a buddy that played at Cal, and he said the loudest ever was Oregon. Did you ever experience the Oregon Allison Stadium?
Yeah, it was super loud there. We actually went up there in 2011, and I think they had like a 35 game home winning streak that
Oh,
we
so
had,
the Chip Kelly was
snapped.
there still,
Yeah,
I
and
think.
yeah, it was super loud, but
Mm-hmm.
I want to say the loudest place we played might have actually been University of Utah. It got like
Mm.
crazy loud there, and they're like
Mm-hmm.
beating this drum, and the way the stadium's structured. I mean, it was awesome. Even though most of the crowd was against us, like it was just so cool, and I could see it being a hostile,
uh,
environment maybe for some teams, but we were just like jacked up and used to it because everywhere we traveled it got loud. For
mhm.
a lot of teams, it was like it was their Super Bowl when USC came to
Yeah,
town. But yeah, it was I don't know what the decibels were there, but like, yeah,
but yeah.
Oregon was loud, Utah was loud, and then like I know UW was pretty loud as well. We played them in the Seahawks stadium, which is like
Okay,
designed to hold like sound in,
to make it
I think.
loud.
So yeah, I was in
Mm.
a lot of loud environments, but I want to say Utah was the loudest that I can remember.
Yeah, the fans on TV, they're a lot of fun to watch. They're like as me, like I'm a UCLA fan first, but I love football. Like I love
Yeah.
it, and I love college football, and I love to see like like Penn State a whiteout. Like I love to see that stuff. The Utah fans seem like great fans, like huge support, but behind what they do there. The Oregon fans, they're it's super loud. So that's always fun to see. Um, Let me ask. So you mentioned a coach though. He's like a legendary D line coach. Like in college football circles, it's like great recruiter, great energy. How happy were you for him to win that national title at LSU?
Oh, dude, that was like absolutely amazing. I mean, I think I can speak for a lot of players that it's absolute honor, absolute pleasure to play for a guy that knows his stuff, has such a passion for football, does his best to make you your best.
Mm-hmm.
And I know a lot of players at SC when he was the interim coach wanted him
Mm-hmm.
to be hired as
The head
the
coach.
full-time head coach, not just interim, which didn't happen, unfortunately. At that point, I had already finished my USC career, but I was really hoping that he would get the job. And then seeing him go to LSU, become interim coach, and then actually getting the job there,
Mm-hmm.
seeing him win a national championship, uh, he deserved it, so much,
Mm-hmm.
more than anyone. So I was just so happy for him when that happened. It's a great story, and
Mm-hmm.
really glad it panned out the way it did.
I was actually rooting for Coach O to get that job too when he was an interim coach. As a UCLA fan, I've always thought he was a good coach. I know he's a fantastic recruiter. Like that he's
Yeah,
legendary for being a great recruiter. But he's just like a football guy, and I just really enjoy that. And funny guy, I heard that The Rock, because he was at Miami when The Rock was there, but that The Rock picked up on a lot of like Coach O's mannerisms for WWF. I don't know if that's true because I've never like been around him like for a practice, just from what you see on like TV and stuff. But that's like one of the things that they say is that The Rock picked up a lot of these things from Coach O,
I, I
the trash talking.
I would 100% believe that. I mean, he was witty. He was hardcore. He was about hard work.
Mm-hmm.
About football. I mean that would make total sense to me.
So when you guys had like the first day of pads, like what was that? What was that like? Because I think in college, because I'm used to high school, so in spring there's no pads in spring. It's not until you get to fall camp that you get into pads. But you guys do pads in spring for at least like 5 days of spring, right?
Wh- I forget how many days we had pads on, but like spring, the camp there, it's like 4 or 5 weeks, and you're like 3 days a week, and you're in pads most of the time, at least when I played there. So,
Yeah,
yeah, there was plastic popping,
yeah,
helmets bashing in the spring there. I mean, I thought it was awesome. So,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Because I think I always think that like first day of pads is like summertime, but I forget that in college that you do have you go full gear in spring.
Yeah.
Who if you don't mind, who was like the one that was like, oh man, like I'm going up against this guy, I'm about to get wrecked, or people were just like, this guy's like the term, because there's always a guy that's just like the Mad Hatter, right? It's like this guy lays out everybody. Who do you remember
Oh,
who that
we
guy was for you guys?
I think we had a few of those guys,
Mm-hmm.
like for example, I was playing D line and we had Tyron Smith on the offensive line,
Mm-hmm.
starting left tackle for the Dallas Cowboys. The guy is just a monster of a man. And like
Mm-hmm.
I remember one particular time in practice where we hit each other pretty hard, like helmet to helmet. And I
Mm-hmm.
remember being like kind of like woozy and thought I was gonna like fall over, and like it sounds silly, but I was like concussion testing myself. I was like, Zach, remember what day it is? Like,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
remember what play you just ran? Like, what we're doing today? And it was just like this weird feeling, like just getting your bell rung so hard. And like, we had some guys like 340 pounds that I'd go up
Mm-hmm.
against some drills, and think it was called like mat drill. And
Mm-hmm.
there's going to be some hard contact there, and I didn't care. I'll jump in and go against everyone, even though I know like I'm gonna have trouble against this 340 pounder.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like you just run into a wall. So
Yeah.
we had a handful of guys where it was like that, but I really enjoyed it actually.
And that's a weird thing. Like, so it's been a long time since I played, but like something I do miss is like the hurt that kind of came with football. Like the your bumps and bruises, like the pain of it. Like it's like even when you hit somebody really hard, say like you were the one that was the hitter, not the hitty, it still hurts you, which is weird. But it's just like, oh yeah, like so like football is a fun game that way.
Yeah, I feel like, in a way it's kind of like, lifting. You go through a hardcore workout and then you just have these endorphins released afterwards, even though you might
Mm-hmm.
be sore. So like I remember, it might be the Oklahoma drill and you just really lay a nice hit on somebody.
Yeah,
And the hit might not have felt good on you physically, like mentally it felt great. And
yeah.
you might be in the ice bath after practice and you're sore and you're bruised up, but like you're also feeling good at the same time.
It is weird. Let me going back to your high school days. Were you recruited at all, or were you just like, hey, I'm gonna find a place to walk on?
Yeah, so like I could have easily gone Division 2 or 1 AA on scholarship.
Yeah.
Had some offers here and there, and I decided I wanted to be serious to the point. Like I love football so much. Like yeah, I want to play, but the ultimate goal is to make the NFL. And I think the best thing is to go to a big time university, even if it's as a walk on. So that's why I made that choice. Like I know it's a very hard, unlikely path either way, but I figured, hey, like you only get one shot at college, and maybe I'm
Mm-hmm.
being bullheaded here, but like I don't want to go the community college route and
Mm-hmm.
try and get better offers. I don't
Mm-hmm.
want to go to a smaller school. I want to do like a big time university, and so that's why I ended up choosing the route that I did.
That's what I figured. Something like that. But like I don't want to assume because I figured guy who could play quarterback is big enough to move to the D line is an athlete. Like you could have gotten there's schools to go to, but like I understand that SC is a different caliber than those places, and so like I understand the reasoning. The other thing too is how much of the USC network played a part. Like were you always like a SC fan? Is like that's my dream school, or was there other factors that kind of helped you draw you that
So
way?
when I started getting into college football, SC was my dream school.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I wasn't like that big on college football growing up until
Mm-hmm.
about my sophomore year in high school, because that's when my parents started talking to me about, making sure my grades were good, which they were, but, continuing to get good grades, work hard in sports, because this is when you make yourself
Mm-hmm.
for college. So like you might want to start looking and thinking about colleges, and up to that point I'd really just followed NFL football.
Right.
Of course I knew who these big time programs were, but at that time Matt Leinart was the quarterback at USC. They
Also, as
had
the SC Reggie
Reggie
Bush.
Bush,
Yeah.
Clay
Okay.
Matthews, Palomalu,
Yeah. Yeah. And Reggie Bush is a San
Lindell
Diego boy
White.
too, so I'm sure
Yeah,
that yeah.
so you see these guys and they're playing football just up the freeway from you, and born
Mm-hmm.
and raised Southern California.
Mm-hmm.
And in that era, like naturally that drew me to being an SC fan. Like another thing too, since I was playing quarterback, sophomore year in high school, I happened to wear number 11, left-handed, and I had this Nike.
Shout out to the left-handers. There we go. Yeah, maybe that's why we get along
Yeah,
too. There
awesome.
you go.
Yeah, and I had this Nike football, and I see this magazine, Sports Illustrated actually, and there's
Mm-hmm.
a left-handed quarterback, number 11, holding the
Mm-hmm.
same Nike football that I had. It was
Mm-hmm.
Matt Leinart, and I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, I like this guy.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah, so just that era, that magazine uh, cover that I saw, like the commonalities being in Southern California, like
Mm-hmm.
just became a huge SC fan at that point, and so wanted to go there. And then, my dad even told me, he was like, "Hey, your first college football game actually when you were a baby, so I was born in San Diego.
Mm-hmm.
USC came to Qualcomm Stadium, or Jack Murphy back then, to play SC. So your first game was an SC game. So I think it was just meant to be.
Meant to be. That's really
Yeah.
cool. One of the things I think is like underrated is though the SC network, like the alumni and everything. There's like huge support. Like Texas has a really strong alumni base where they kind of support. Like, hey, you played football here, or you went to school here. Like, was that a factor for you as well too, or was it strictly like, hey, I want to go to SC to play football?
Yeah, that was a factor too. I mean, being a great academic school and having the Trojan network, like I remember speaking to some other parents. I was over my friend's house, and when the dad of my friend was like, "Oh, you got accepted into SC," I think that's a no brainer. It's just an all around great school. You're gonna have that network behind you,
Mm-hmm.
and it has been really great for me. I mean, um, career-wise, I was able to pick up some work there.
Mm-hmm.
Network-wise, just anywhere I go, for the most part, I'll see someone in Trojan gear, give them the fight on, instant conversation. We have a
Mm-hmm.
cool alumni group here in New York City
Mm-hmm.
to go watch the games with. So the network's really strong, and something that's been very beneficial to me. So that was, of course, not like the deciding factors, but one of
Mm-hmm.
the many strong factors. I mean, I guess I say not a deciding factor would be the wrong way to put it.
But
Not the
a
ultimate
contributing.
deciding factors, but up on the list there. So
Yeah.
good academic school, good athletic school, great network. So
Yeah, because the reason that I kind of bring that up too is, you know, you're a guy that kind of like says what he wants to say, and on Twitter there's a lot of like, hey, don't go to college type of stuff, and you're like, hey, like my college degree has worked out for me, and I think part of it is that you were able to go to a school like USC with a strong alumni base and support. I mean, does that
I,
kind of where you fall in line with?
Oh yeah, I would say so. I mean, I know my college experience is unique, and we all have our different paths to success, but I really do think college is what you make of it. And so I had the opportunity to go to a great school, take advantage of the athletic program, the
Mm-hmm.
academic program. Got my bachelor's in business, studying finance. Got a master's degree in marketing. Joined a
Oh man,
fraternity,
you did all that
made
while
a
you were
network
a
there.
walk on.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow, I didn't know that. Dang, that's
Um,
a lot of work because
Met.
the football commitment is not it's a lot. It's a lot. So to be able to get the degree and the masters, wow, man, I didn't know that.
So yeah, I really did everything. I met my wife in grad school. Actually, we were
Holla,
working on a project together there. So I really got a lot out
best
of it.
group project ever. You're still
It
going, huh?
it was. So we still talk about it all the time. It's a great story. But yeah, I mean, and something I do want to bring up, since we're on the topic, is like, I see people, oh, you're going to study this in college and you're never going to use it in the real world. And a lot of people have jobs that don't align with what they studied in college, which is true. But one of my football coaches brought up a great point. He did tell us that a lot of people, post football, go into a career that had nothing to do with their degree. But the fact that you obtained a degree, no matter what it was in, means that for those 3, 4, 5 years, however long it took you to obtain it, you were presented with a complex set of problems and had to use your critical thinking skills to provide a solution to that problem. And those are transferable skills into several different industries. And looking at it
Mhm.
like that, I'm like, yeah, he hit the nail on the head. Like, I might not use some of the, information and financial modeling skills and, terminology that I used in the business school on a day-to-day basis, or like even at all, dependent on my position. But, the fact that I, I had to pass certain standards, tests, learn to think certain ways, learn to work with other people, even just proper social interactions, really helped develop me for the real world. So
Mhm.
college was great for me. And yeah, I'm not one of those guys, oh, don't go to college, you don't need it. It's really dependent on the individual.
Yeah.
It's what you make of it. And yeah.
Well, you're a pretty forward-thinking guy, and you've kind of thought things through. So that's part of it too, right? Like if you're going and you have no clue why you're there, then that's what you're gonna get out of it. But you're 5:45 before practice, getting ready to lift weights, getting the degree, getting your master's. So you're definitely like a driven and you know planned out what you had in store there. Let me ask. I mean, you had these great coaches. What were some like the lessons that you kind of like stand out for you? Because like to me, like I learned a lot in the classroom, but I feel like I learned so much more on the practice field, just because like you're getting kind of beaten down or whatever, and so like whenever they're talking to you, like you're not really listening until like later. It's like, oh yeah, like he was right. Like this is really how it is.
I mean, I think you learn on the football field, and off the field with your coaches too. To respect people properly. There's a lot of, sir and ma'am, and or if a coach saw you disrespecting someone, you might get in trouble and
Hmm.
punished for that. You show up late, you're going to get punished for that. You really understand consequences of your actions. I think, just the framework and the mindset that's instilled in you, if you're not early, you're late type thing,
Hmm.
or in my situation, being a walk-on, fighting an uphill battle, knowing I had to work hard to get results, seeing my work acknowledged by the coaches, seeing my work make me a better player, and seeing tangible results, making the travel squad, getting in the rotation, and getting to play, which unfortunately for a lot of walk-ons never happens,
Hmm.
was awesome. And I think it really shaped me, for life, and set me up well. I was always a hard worker, but I think it helped me like double down. Like, I might not always be the best at something, but I'm not going to let anybody outwork me. And so I know at
Hmm.
the end of the day that I can say I put in my best effort, win or lose. Yeah, so I think it just, really shaped me to be respectful, to be a hard worker, and to appreciate things for that matter.
Yeah. Do you think you're more of a like like motivator, chip on your shoulder, or just like, oh, I'm just embracing the opportunity? Because there's a difference, right? The chip on your shoulder is kind of more out of I don't want to say anger, but it is kind of like a more aggressive.
I would say a little bit of both,
Yeah.
like, everything I think can be spun into an opportunity,
Hmm.
um, as far as chip on your shoulder, we've all had those moments, and I don't want to get into any detail, on them, because there's two sides to every story, and we all have our own perspective.
Hmm.
But every single athlete, at a few points in times in their career, you know, has that feeling, I got screwed, and it
Hmm.
uh, it does put a chip on your shoulder, and it does give you a certain outlook, and make you feel a certain way about things. So, I mean, I'm a pretty positive guy,
Right.
and like, there's been situations where I think, maybe I was better than that other player. Why did he get this rep? Why did he get that
Hmm.
spot? And the coach thought otherwise, and probably for good reason. And I'm not saying who's
Yeah.
right and who's wrong. We both have our own opinions on that, but it can, it does make you develop a little chip on your shoulder, though.
Little, yeah, that dog in you that you have to have, right? Especially in that in environment. So you did mention that you met your wife. How long have you guys been married now? You have one kid?
Yep. So we met in 2012, on that group project in graduate school
10
at,
years.
at,
God
at
dang.
USC. Yeah. And we got married back in 2018, and then we had our son in 2020. So it's been a
Nice.
it's been a great ride. I mean, USC has provided me with so much.
Yeah, that's really true. And then I saw that you had taken him to his first football game. I think it was last year or the year before, but I remember you posted pictures with you at the football game with your boy.
Yeah, I had some pictures and videos there, so it was cool. First game, getting to take him on the football field. My wife got him this really cool, like, football, like, uniform for babies. Put that on
Oh.
him. So we had him on the sideline. Pictures with the players, the song girls, and everything. So we've got a lot of cool memories to look back on,
Yeah.
captured on photo and on film.
It'll be just like you, right? His first football game is SC, but there's no pictures now. He's got tons of pictures and videos. That's got to be it's gonna be a lot of fun when he's older.
Oh yeah, that's gonna be great.
You mentioned that you're gonna wait for your son to play. Um, if he's like, because you're a pretty big guy, were you a late bloomer?
I was. I remember, being younger, trying to put on muscle in the weight room, and not to say necessarily I was weak, because I was, like a big dude, but I was struggling, in comparison to some of my friends, to put on muscle, plateauing in the weight room. And I mean, like, you'd look at them, you'd look at me, like I had this baby face, could barely grow any whiskers, maybe like a little, like,
Yeah.
stash, whatever. Um, And then, really, it was my I think a sophomore year of high school, if I remember correctly, where all of a sudden, like, the strength just increased phenomenally. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I had been around strength and conditioning coaches, had done a lot of my own research, and I think my nutrition was better, and I think my training was better. And not to say it was bad previously, but I think just a combination of knowledge and being that late type developer. I mean, I know my dad told me he developed later, as far as his strength, speed, athleticism, and so I kind of followed that same trajectory.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I was thinking about I have two sons, and like I'm gonna wait for them to play too, so I think their bodies are ready. Because there's guys that play their kids really young, and I'm not trying to live through my boys. Like my time is done. I want it for them just because I learned so many lessons from playing, the toughness, the adversity. Like those are things like we live in a good neighborhood. Like they have it good, right?
Yeah,
So like I want that for them. I was talking to Noah Ravoy, talking about like rites of passage. It's like we don't really have any rites of passage, but I think like I'd want them to play football for that, high school football. Like, hey, that's something that I think every American boy should experience. That locker room, 2-a-days, hell week, getting knocked on your ass, having to dust yourself off, like all those things. But I'm not sure how early I'd want my sons to play. I guess I'll probably, I have time, but I think that's kind of where I'm going or gonna steer them.
yeah. I mean, that makes sense. I mean, like, I'm not the authority on when your kid should start. I mean, you have guys that have played since Pee Wee football, whatever the
Mm-hmm.
youngest division is, and you have
Yeah.
guys all the way up to, like, Siggy Ansah, who never even played college until he walked on at BYU.
Yeah, that's
Who
crazy.
end up in the NFL.
Yeah.
So I just think it's really dependent on how comfortable the parent is and how comfortable the kid is, for that matter.
Yeah.
If my son doesn't want to play football, it's not something I'm gonna force him to do,
Mm-hmm.
because if you don't want to be out there hitting people and getting hit, it's a recipe for disaster. I've
Mm-hmm.
I've seen, guys out there who've been nervous, didn't really want to be there, and it 100% of the time has turned out bad. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm not gonna force him to play if he doesn't want to. And as of right now, I think holding off until high school is my plan. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I know I was begging my parents since elementary school to play football, and they wouldn't let me. And before
Did
that,
you play others? Did you play other sports then though? Were you playing like
oh,
baseball,
I did
basketball?
everything:
Okay.
baseball, basketball, soccer. I did karate. I
Uh huh.
remember when I was like,
You
I
roundhouse
must have
someone,
been
huh?
5 years
That was a big
old,
ass
and yeah,
roundhouse.
4 or 5 years old, saw Mighty Ducks, and we had a skating rink at the mall that was down the street from us,
Uh
and
huh.
I asked them to sign me up for hockey because I wanted to go fight kids on the rink and stuff, and they wouldn't sign me up for hockey.
Because you
So,
told them you
so
wanted to fight.
I told them I want to play hockey too, but I did tell them that I wanted to fight the other kids. So, um, I mean, I don't want to say I was like violent or anything. I just thought it was part of the sport, and it
Yeah,
looked
it looked fun.
it looked fun. Yeah. So
Yeah,
why not? So I never
yeah,
got to play hockey, unfortunately. But
yeah. There's not a
yeah,
lot of hockey in San Diego, right besides that mall. So I'm pretty sure it
yeah.
was like you're gonna just like scrimmage each other all the time.
Yeah, I'm not sure how it worked, but yeah, eventually they let me play football actually in eighth grade,
Hmm.
because I had begged him so much. They had told me, okay, when you're 13, you can play. So I think I turned 13 like seventh grade or something, and then yeah,
Uh-huh.
following year comes fall. I'm 13. I got to play finally. So I don't think it mattered that I played that year.
No.
I mean, like, I guess it was cool going into high school knowing that I was a little bit more experienced than most. But there was a
Hmm.
lot of kids, when you show up to high school, that had never played any football, and it didn't matter. They were athletic. Their bodies were developing. They went on to do great things. So
Yeah. There is that, but I'm seeing more and more specialization in high school. Like there's, especially in California, it's like the kids that are good, they're all kind of migrating to certain high schools now. So it's like I was a public school kid. So before it was like, hey, you go to your neighborhood school, like so everybody goes. But
Yeah.
now they're like, I'm gonna make the drive half hour, an hour to go to this powerhouse football school. So I think the landscape has changed quite a bit.
Yeah, I mean, I don't follow recruiting all too closely, but like I have seen that specialization where it's almost become like college with some of these schools.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're
Yeah.
playing on ESPN or other nationally televised broadcasts, and
You watch them and
these
the
private
quality is just like,
schools. And
wow, I can't believe these guys. They are amazing kids. Like,
oh,
jeez.
oh yeah, when they'll be like, oh yeah, this school had 7 people sign Division 1 scholarships last year. I'm like, oh my goodness, this
Yeah.
is insane. So yeah.
I remember, so I'm from California too, but this was like almost 20 years ago. Uh, Long Beach Poly is a Southern California powerhouse, and they were playing De La Salle, which is a Northern California powerhouse, and they called it the game of the century because Long Beach Poly had like 5 or 6 guys who were getting D1 scholarships, and Long Beach Poly or De La Salle had like 2 or 3. One of them was Maurice Jones-Drew, Mercedes Lewis on Long Beach Poly, Darnell Being, Manny Wright. Well, they went to USC. Herschel Dennis. These
Yeah.
guys. So it's like the game of the century. Now every week these guys are just playing each other, and there's like 15 guys on each roster, and it's just like, my gosh, I can't. Like this is incredible. It's a whole new ball game at the high school in California. I'm not sure about like New York, but California, Texas, Florida, it's insane.
Oh yeah, yeah. Those 3 states, it's crazy. So who knows what the landscape will shape up in 16, 17 years from now.
Mm-hmm.
But
When your boy's ready.
yeah, it's we'll see what it is then, and we'll adapt. But yeah, it's changed a lot.
So let me ask, like, you're big into fitness, and you have your account, and you give a lot of, I don't know if you give a lot of fitness advice, but we're talking fitness, and
Yeah.
you're coaching. What was the transition to that? Was it just like people just started kind of reaching out to you and asking questions, and it naturally developed for you? How did that go?
Yeah, definitely. So, like, after my football career, I had topped out at like 293 pounds, and I knew that I couldn't be carrying that weight on me for the rest of my life. It'd be unhealthy, and I started feeling certain things too that didn't feel right, like
Mm-hmm.
acid reflux, or maybe feeling a little out of breath running across the street when I was bulking really hard. I'm like, nah, this shouldn't be happening to somebody my
Mm-hmm.
age. So I had put some of these fitness and nutrition practices into place that I had researched and really wanted to do after I knew I was done playing. Styles of lifting, the ketogenic diet I read about, and I dropped 92 pounds and got in amazing shape. And I just would have so many friends, family members, acquaintances ask me what I did to transform myself. And I'd write up long emails and provide all these resources and give all this help, and people that followed it would have results, and it was like really cool to see that, hey, like, I give somebody a plan, they follow it, and they're seeing results, and they're thanking me. Like, a
Mm-hmm.
couple former teammates I had helped lose some weight after, I had a couple that actually gained weight after football, and they're like, oh crap,
Yeah.
I need to lose this, and so,
Yeah.
so I helped them
Yeah.
there. And then, with Twitter, I'd had a personal account which I didn't post very much on, and it had become like all football takes that I thought were horrible from people that didn't play maybe at the highest level, or didn't know what was going on, didn't know what film review was like, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
thinking like, I can't stand these tweets anymore. They're so wrong. And then Twitter started getting very political, and I started just blocking all political accounts, all news accounts. I'm like, this isn't my thing. There's like a lot of negativity out there. Like, I don't want to see this. And so eventually I was like, okay, I'm done with Twitter. I deactivated it after a Super Bowl, maybe like 4 years ago or something. Um, and then I was like, okay, let me reactivate it, see what's going on, spring football or fall, whatever, I forget.
Mm-hmm.
And some random fitness accounts, like, it somehow leaked into my timeline, like some suggestions. And I'm like, okay, this guy seems cool. Let me follow
Mm-hmm.
him. Like, maybe I was doing Twitter wrong. Let me start
Mm-hmm.
following these other guys, and I start seeing posts and content of stuff that I really liked. And with some of it, I'm like, hey, I think I know as much as this guy, or hey, I think I know more than that guy, or hey, this guy seems, like he's in this online fitness community interacting with people that I'd like to interact with.
Mm-hmm.
So it was October 2020, midst of the pandemic, and that's when I create this anonymous account. And I even put eyes on the statue.
Laser
I
eyes.
had no
Nice.
idea what they meant, but I saw a
That's
bunch
like
of
cool.
accounts with that. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, that looks super cool. And like my first post was something like headed to the gym for a 6 a.m. lift, and then like I posted some giant plate of like steak, and like some
Steak, baby.
weird anon account um have like 7 followers in the first month or something. But I was interacting with some of these big fitness accounts, and they're probably like, who's this weird statue guy with these giant plates of steak blurring his eyes out, or and is lifting
Laser eyes.
videos and
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah, laser eyes on the profile picture. And I then see some stuff from, I guess I call money Twitter, about like, oh, if you have some knowledge, whether it be in fitness or like sales or whatever, like just like make a PDF and put it up on Gumroad, and people will pay for it or whatever. So I did that, but I put it up for free, and people
Mm-hmm.
started, like, I remember um people started just downloading it. My phone starts getting all these notifications, and so like eventually, yeah, I put a price on it, but the downloads just kept rolling in, and my account just kept like growing.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, at this point, I had become not anonymous
Mm-hmm.
anymore, and people started reaching out to me asking diet questions, nutrition questions. People were asking me to coach them. Like, people wanted to meet up in person. Like, people are asking for consulting services, like fitness consulting, diet consulting, keto consulting. And so it really just, all started so organically, just because I had
Mm-hmm.
a passion for fitness and nutrition. And I'm just sitting there, everything is shut down, so you didn't have much to do but
Right.
hang out at home. And I was like,
Yeah.
hey, this might be fun to just like, I can't go out and interact with people because things are closed down, but
Mm-hmm.
like, I'll just interact online for now with like-minded people, and things just exploded. And so that, yeah, totally organic. And everything I've been really putting online is been motivated by things that people have asked for from me. So it's been really cool to see play out.
I think it's I really enjoy the fitness community. I guess is the easy way to put it. Like guys like it's just everybody in the fitness I interact with. I like because you guys are funny, which is I like. But like, there's always like this. We're trying to improve. Like you're a dad, but you don't say, "Oh, I can't work out anymore because I have kids." It's like, no, I work out because I have kids. And that was something that had to change for me because once my playing days were over, it's just like, oh, working out is because you're vain or whatever. And I'm not vain, so I'm not going to work out. But now it's like, no, I'm not working out because I'm vain. I'm working out because I want to feel good and I have more energy for my kids. I have energy for my wife and I have other things that I want to give energy to. And so like that's a motivator. Like I have a new goal now too. It's like, there's no games to play, but my goal is I want to be able to dance with my grandkids at their wedding. Like that's so like before you to get up for a 5:45, it's like because hey, I want to get a starting spot, right? Like there's that drive. There's no drive for me to be like, oh, I want to like lose 5 pounds. Like that's never been a thing for me. But like when I don't want to work out, it's like, well, this is the this is the price to pay if you want that goal because I don't know how long that's going to be. I had 2 knee surgeries, so it's like, hey, I want to make sure that I can do that. That gets me, when I don't want to feel like it, to be like, okay, let's go. Let's pay the price. Pay the rent.
Oh yeah, I mean, you see that in the fitness community all the time. I mean, there's people like myself that call us an addict, or like some people like hardcore or whatever, and we really enjoy
Mm-hmm.
doing what we do. But like a lot of us preach too, like, hey, you don't have to have the level of interest that I do or that we do. What's really important is that you're out there, taking care of your body, taking care of your health,
Hmm.
not just for you, but for your family. So yeah, you can dance at your kid's wedding, so you can play in the backyard with your grandchild, or so you can set good examples for your kids and for your grandchildren.
Hmm.
So yeah, that's one of the really cool things about most of the fitness community is that we're encouraging others, and like there's many different ways to go about it. Like I see people in the gym and maybe they're doing a workout that I would never do, or maybe I think it's not the most efficient thing, but hey,
Hmm.
they're doing something that gets them to the gym. That they can do consistently.
Hmm.
They're putting in the effort, and they're being active. So I think there's many ways for people to go out there, improve themselves, and have their mind right, and just stay healthy.
I remember, I don't know, it's maybe like 2 years ago because I started tweeting maybe in 2020 also, but I saw a guy. He was at his home gym, and I think he was working out, deadlifting, and then his little boy was next to him like deadlifting, and I was like, oh, that's really cool because I'm a go to the gym to work out, so like, but the kids don't really see me working out. But I just moved to this new place, and I'm like setting up all my home gym, and I'm like, hey, like, you know, I'm not gonna make you come out, but like you see that this is what we do. My wife works out, I work out. Like this is what we do as a family, and I'm like, hoping that they kind of like pick up on that habit, just because health is important. Like there's a lot of obesity is a big problem. We try to eat well. I want my kids to be healthy, to have good habits.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, same here. I go to the gym, and my son's just at that age where he's starting to pick up on more things and emulate things. So it's a habit I know he'll pick up, and like I mean, he's seen me too at home, like do push-ups, and like he's gotten like on his hands to do,
Nice.
do whatever,
Do you
or
like
like
daddy?
yeah, or
Mm-hmm.
I have a resistance band. Sometimes randomly I'll just like start busting out some curls with it, and then
Uh,
he'll like reach. He needs the band, and
mm,
he wants to do the curls with it too. So yeah, he's
sweet boy.
definitely been picking up on things, and he has some toy dumbbells that we've got him as well. So I taught him how to use those. That it's hilarious playing with him with those.
One of the last things I wanted to ask you about, how has it been going from Southern California to New York? I mean, I've never been to New York, but the weather's, I'm sure, quite a bit different than Southern California. The vibe, maybe not as laid back.
Yeah, it's not as laid back. Overall, though, the people have been pretty nice. I would say here you see on TV or hear from people, oh, everyone's so rude, everything's so fast paced. Like for the most part, people have been great. And I could say that for all of America. Everywhere I've been, people seem to be pretty friendly. Like
Mm-hmm.
yeah, there's different vibe, different culture. Maybe it's more fast paced. Maybe people are a little bit more in your face, but overall, people have been great. As far as the weather. It's cool to have like four seasons. Like I
Mm-hmm.
love when it snows. I go out and take walks in the snow because it's still fascinating to me. After growing up in Southern California.
Mm-hmm.
One thing that I've been really bad though, adjustment wise, is like in San Diego. I never had to check the weather. It's going to be
Mm-hmm.
72 and sunny. I'm going to put on my rainbow sandals, a pair of shorts, t-shirt,
Mm-hmm.
tank top, whatever. I do the same thing here, and you really should check the weather no matter what it looks like. It might be like 82 and hot and humid 1 minute, and the next minute there's a thunderstorm going
Oh.
on. So like I've definitely been caught out in that situation, and like so I just look like a goofball in my shorts, tank top, and sandals, just walking out in the rain. But yeah, something I'm trying to get better at, but after being here for a few years, I still really haven't improved there.
Do you think you'll stay there for a while, or it's just kind of like there's opportunities there for you right now that you're trying to take advantage of and then head back?
Yeah, I think we'll be here for the long term.
Okay,
We've kind of grown roots here. We had
nice.
our kid here. We've embedded ourselves nicely into the community here, and
Mm-hmm.
things have been great, personal wise, career wise, and family wise. So yeah, we'll see where life takes us. You really never know. But as of right now, I would say, we're on track to be here for the long term.
Oh, I love to hear that things are going well for you. That's always, you always want, like, the people that things to go well. So that actually warms my heart to hear that things are going there,
Thank
really
you.
well there for you. Um, do you have anything new coming up on any new like coaching programs or anything coming out that you wanted to go and promote before we go wrap this
Um,
bad boy up?
I don't really want to promote too much. Like I said, what I do is organic, and it's really
Mhm.
driven by what users want. I mean, I have a list of items that I do want to get out. A couple articles that I want to write. I have like two lifting programs that people have been asking me things like. I think what you'll see released in the near future is I want to put together a hotel guide. I know a lot of hotels are limited
Oh
on
yeah.
their equipment,
Hmm.
so I've actually put something together there, but I haven't made it look nice enough to publish.
Hmm.
So that'll get out at some point. Like that was I had a client who was traveling, and I was traveling myself, and that's where I put this plan down on paper. Um, so yeah, but it's nothing I'm too like urgent to get out there, or that hey, I want to promote and push this, but that's really about it.
Oh man, that's great. I really enjoy your content. I really enjoy interacting with you. If we ever get together, we'll have some steaks, some salmon, and then we'll get In-N-Out burgers for dessert.
Dude, that sounds great. I miss In-N-Out, man.
Yeah, people don't know. It's just like it's like, oh, this burger's better. It's like you don't understand. In-N-Out was just like the, hey, we're gonna get some quick food. It's not crazy expensive. It's good. It's fresh. Like it just tastes like California, baby.
It does. Well, Joel, it was a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me on. I had a wonderful time, and wishing you and yours nothing but the best.
Likewise, man. I had a great time with you. Take care.
Take care.